Good Sunday evening, everyone. Welcome to Garden State Weather, New Jersey, and the Northern Mid-Atlantic's Weather News portal, and also the nation as well. I'm meteorologist Robert Smith. We're going to take a look around New Jersey and the New York, Philadelphia I-95 corridor tonight, and a look ahead for the obvious reasons of the week ahead. It's a big week for traveling across the country, right as COVID is re-spreading itself across the country as well. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. This is the evening edition on this Sunday, the 19th of December, 2021. Chilly day here in the northern mid-Atlantic in the wake of a cold front that moved through and an area of low pressure which is now off into the well north and east now, surface low off the New England coast. And there was a lot of snow, actually, in parts of Maine and Vermont and even New York today. But again, winter seems to be chilly here right now. Right now, the air temperatures are in the upper 20s to low and mid 30s, but that is a significant drop off from the maximums, which occurred early this morning in the upper 30s north, low and mid 40s, and even some 50s here in the south. But that was before the cold front came through. And the minimums this morning, again, in the upper 20s to low and mid 30s. Yes. Now, it has been a windy day in response to that area of low pressure. And see if we can zoom in on this here. I'll do this latest 18Z here, surface analysis. Here is our low pressure area here off of the New England coast and getting out to sea, but it did provide some snow in these regions here and also downwind the lakes on the northwest flow. Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, these areas here received several inches of snow, but nothing here. No. And with those stiff northwest winds or northerly winds coming out around the backside of this and high pressure building in, we can see that the winds are the wind chill temperatures are already in the teens here, and low to mid 30s across the New Jersey, New York City metropolitan area down to the I-95 corridor here. And let's check the wind speed. Winds are quite choppy right now, but they've come down a few notches since this afternoon as the sun is setting or has set already. And these are the current wind gusts right now. So still a few windy spots around the area, especially near the coast. Off the GFS, the NCEP GFS, this is the latest guidance now at 500 millibars across the country and the world, the globe, actually, from earthnullschool.net. And basically a split branch in our jet stream, a split flow pattern here. Cold front's now off the coast, low pressure is moving away, high pressure is established well off the Azores here. Somewhat of a cutoff low here in the southern branch of the jet here in the southern jet stream, but notice all of this energy coming around the backside into and south of the Aleutian Islands here, and then boom, right into Canada and the west coast. You can see this flow, and this is a separation between these two branches, and this flow here is so strong that even with blocking in our jet stream, there's a buckling here at 250 millibars to this our jet structure here, and you can see this strong Pacific flow here. The southern branch is strong too, but there's a separation here again between these two branches, and we call that a split flow. Now we're going to get out of the troposphere where our weather is and get into the stratosphere at the lowest levels here at about 70 millibars. This is what it looks like. If this shows up here, yep, here's our polar vortex here over the top of the pole. Here is the stratospheric warming ridge here that is trying to warp the polar vortex and stretch it. That's what's happening there. And at the top of the stratosphere, again, the same kind of configuration. It's very strong right now, but it is elongated, and it is this high pressure zone here in the stratosphere, above normal heights here in the stratosphere, is trying to weaken, or I wouldn't say weaken at this point, because this doesn't look very weak to me, but it is definitely stretching it, and the forecast is going to become very complicated. Okay, we'll speed up this here just a little bit for, yeah, this is sped up. This is the simple water vapor channel on the west coast in the Pacific. And you can see plenty of upstairs troughs and short waves in this pattern here. And that is bringing an atmospheric river once again into the western United States and Canada. There's some warnings out here for snow and ice and rain. And over the next several days into the holiday weekend, there's going to be a lot of rain in the lower portions of California. And in the mountains, it's going to be a lot of snow. Yeah. But that doesn't really bode too well for the eastern United States. Parts of New England already seeing quite a lot of snow if you're a skier, but not so much in the mid-Atlantic yet. No. And this pattern doesn't look too good to me to support that yet. Okay, here's the latest data now from the National Coronavirus Activity Map from flustar.com. Obviously, these areas here in the dark colors in New England and Maine and Pennsylvania, and also portions of New York and portions of Ohio, yes, and Indiana, and portions of the Northwest and the Central Plains here in Colorado, here in the Rockies, and also down into New Mexico. This is where COVID is right now, and the largest spiking numbers are in this region. Doesn't matter which variant it is, it's probably going to be both. Cold and flu is predominant across a large chunk of the area. Otherwise, it wouldn't look like this, it would look like this. But that's not the case. Cough, I don't know what happened, maybe they're not diagnosing that area here. Strep is increasing, by the way, too, in eastern Pennsylvania, central and southern New Jersey too, and in portions of New York City's Islip, Long Island area here too. Fever, that's on the rise. And it's not a good fever, no. And the flu is actually being reported, and it's increasing here across the delta of the panhandle of Florida, Louisiana, portions of Georgia, Alabama here, even into portions of Tennessee now. And it's showing up also in central and southern New Jersey, just as strep is showing up at the same time. Not a good sign, folks. Not good. Weather Prediction Center's 3 to 7 day hazards outlook nationally here, created on Friday, the last day, because they are off on the weekend. This will be updated again tomorrow. We have drought, of course, in everything that's brown here, and that continues through Friday, the 24th, Christmas Eve, if you will. There's going to be bouts of heavy precipitation across California, Oregon, the West Coast, basically. And it's only going to increase as we head into the 8 to 14 day period. Again, from the Weather Prediction Center or the Climate Prediction Center at this point, for the 8 to 14 day from Christmas Day, the 25th of December, through the end of this month, just before the new year, 2022 comes in. Much below normal temperatures here across the northern tier. So lots of heavy snow and heavy rain coming into California and the Sierra Nevadas as well. Get ready. Couple signals I'd like to go over again with the stratosphere is that we are in a territory here with this La Nina that is proving the model guidance to struggle through this forecast period going into the first part of January. And when I look at the temperatures, and basically we want to focus around 60 north. This is our area here in North America. And the temperature scale has been rising. And the forecast, both at 10 millibars and 30 millibars, is forecasted to rise, but especially at 10 millibars here. This is an upward tick. So, and again, this is forecasted into the early part of January. Now, when I take a look at the wind fluxes, this also looks very apparent to me at 10 millibars. You see this spike here, December 1st, and then December 16th, and then you see this split here, where temperatures are declining here a little bit, But this has happened also in November, where the same thing happened, and then the verification scores showed this in the opposite direction. And the black lines here, the black arrows, show that a major stratospheric warming event is still forecasted from the end of this month into the beginning, probably the beginning. This is only forecasted out to the end of this month. But to me, it's ongoing. It's an ongoing thing. Wave amplitude looks very strong. So at 60 north here, so this is a verification. It's incredible. So we know that the stratosphere is warming and warping the polar vortex, but we just don't know where all of this is going just yet. We use all the model guidance here, but we're particularly paying attention to the GFS, the Ensemble GFS, the High Resolution European Model, and the EPS Ensemble European Model guidance here. In the blues and the reds are the GFS. So off of today's run at 12Z, the GFS is, trying to raise the North Atlantic Oscillation up, where it's been primarily negative right now, and all the other model guidance is disagreeing with the GFS. And if we looked at last night's run, again, the same kind of thing that the GFS is doing, none of the other model guidance is doing. And then yesterday morning's run has it like this, going up. Now, all the trends are to go up, but still keep it in the negative here as we head into the early part of January. So a lot of fluctuation with that. The Arctic oscillation here, again, the GFS operational is out to lunch while the GFS ensemble model guidance is coming up just about, as well as all of the European model guidances and the Canadian model guidances and the Korean model guidance as well. So, and then last night, the GFS put it into positive. I don't know. It's the only one. It's the outlier here. That's not looking too good for the GFS. Does not have a good skill score going forward here. EPO is all over the place. Right now it's in the tank, but it's forecasted to rise with a relaxation in the pattern. Again, the GFS is off on its tangent. It looks screwy to me. And the PNA, again, this doesn't look good. Now, yesterday, or last night, yesterday morning actually, the 18th, the GFS operational put it right here into the positive. None of the, all of the members here from all of the other models were showing an uptick in the forecast after being so low right around Christmas time. You'd want the PNA to be in a positive territory with a ridge over the west coast and a trough in the east, but it's not happening in the data. And this looks like an outlier as well. And now, just 24 hours later, the GFS operational has corrected itself back down into the negative, while the other model guidances and the ensembles are showing an uptick, but still in the negative. So no ridge on the west coast for long through the early part of January. And if we don't have that, we're not going to have deep troughing in the east. That doesn't mean we're not going to have cold air. It just means that storms are going to come and go, and there's going to be quite a fluctuation in temperatures. So I'm going to take a look right now at the European 500 millibar height. Okay, this is the operational model here. All the cold air is bottled up in Canada. Here's our cutoff low here. This is by the way here, this is an omega block, so to speak. And it continues to look like an omega block here in the diagrams here. And all that cold air is still locked up in Canada. Notice how this blocking pattern here in the Pacific is not allowing for this cold air to get here, because you need a ridge access here to get a deep trough in the east, and there is a separation between the polar and Arctic branch here and the subtropical branch here, so that's not really going to work out. And then again, a west to east flow, more very strong high pressure off the west coast, south of the Aleutian Islands here again. This is a blocking pattern that is developing at 500 millibars from what's going on upstairs in the stratosphere. And we're going to have perturbations come through the east, but a reloading of the cold is probably not going to happen until we get to, let's say, the end of the month here. And again, this is a pretty warm pattern for the eastern United States, even at 500 millibars. And there is definitely splitting of, vortices here in the polar branch, but it's, the definition of winter here in the eastern United States is supplanted by the fact that you've got a La Nina year, and you've got this ridge of high pressure over the islands here and dialing back into the southwest all the way up to the eastern United States coast, while all the cold air and anomalies lie here. Not good. This shows up in the 500 millibar cyclonic relative vorticity. This is where we're going to see everything in action here. And here is our omega block here, right off the coast of the Aleutian Islands and into the Pacific, the eastern Pacific here. And again, vortices in the polar flow are separated from the subtropical branch. And without that connection, nothing is going to happen. And this still continues on the diagrams here through December 22nd. Omega block here, west to east flow. Disturbance here across the south is not connecting with this disturbance here in the polar jet, so this gets whisked out to sea. Meanwhile, it's crazy. West to east flow. Look at all this energy coming in and wrapping around this high pressure zone here as it spins and swirls out into the Pacific here, and all of this energy moving into the west coast. This includes California, the Rockies here. Meanwhile, the east warms up, and here comes another polar disturbance through the flow. But if you noticed, this change is not going anywhere. And it's a west to east split flow pattern, and you just can't get snow. Really impressive snow, unless you're off the lakes or into New England here, under this kind of situation. It's just not going to happen. No, not for the northern mid-Atlantic. And you can see that right here as we approach the end of the year. And high pressure is still off the coast, and the jet structure is still flowing underneath it, and there is a total disconnect because we do not have a positive PNA. You need a ridge here and a trough here, and we're not seeing that in the model guidance either. Now, when we look at the eastern Pacific ice oscillation here, we're finding that Alaska ridge, which I just talked about. It looks like an omega block here. And that means a trough here in southern Canada and to the northern tier of the United States. It brings warm weather here in Alaska and the Aleutian Islands and cold weather here, but not so much necessarily for the eastern seaboard. And the other thing I want to look at right now, I'm going to do this. Hold on. European 500 millibar height anomalies here. Here is our ridge off the Aleutian Islands and Alaska here, which is pumping up, very warm air for Alaska for this time of the year, and we'll get into that in a moment. And underneath it here, this is an omega block. Now, typically, and this looks very much like a negative EPO, Eastern Pacific Oscillation, but there is, we're in a La Nina year here, and we have still that ridge off of the east coast, and the 500 millibar heights, because of all of the things that are going on in the stratosphere right now, and it's even showing up in the model guidance here at 500 millibars with the height anomalies. First, we're trying to connect these ridges over the top of one another for cross-polar flow to get involved and come down into the eastern United States. But it's starting to show up on the model guidance here across the western United States and then bleed east. But the model guidance is having a hard time with this. And again, this doesn't look promising to me until we get into January, but the ridges are trying to connect themselves with cross-polar flow underneath, but we're not there yet. No, we are not. And another thing here, 588 decameters here with high pressure off the Aleutian Islands and the island chain here in a La Nina year. This is typical of an east-based La Nina, so it's fighting back the pulling of the cold air into the eastern United States for now. So for the New Jersey, New York City I-95 corridor metropolitan area, here is the latest NAM model guidance from this afternoon. Again, if you want to see any kind of snow here coming in and dissipating with the next short wave coming in, you'd have to go over New England, but that doesn't even look impressive to me. And here is Wednesday morning, and again, the European model guidance today, as well as the NCEP models of the NAM model guidance, showing the discontinuity between these two branches. Precipitation getting close here, spotty here over the Delmarva, but nothing. Operational European model guidance, 12 a.m., 12Z, actually early, late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, has some light echoes here. And this is macro scale model, and it's showing the rain exiting the coast off of the just south of us. So there could be a little bit, again, discontinuity here. This is, again, some lake effect snow, and that should wax and wane too. And here comes, this looks like an isentropic lift event here with a warm front moving through and low pressure over southern New England, southern Canada again, above the Great Lakes area here once again, as we get on to Saturday, which is proper to be a problem for travelers here, especially central and highlands of New York and New England. You could experience some snow, some sleet. Northern Mid-Atlantic, just rain. And that's not going anywhere. That's not really, there's nothing changing in this forecast. Then comes Tuesday, December 28th. And any kind of freezing rain or ice pellets or whatever, again, Pennsylvania higher elevations, New York State, this is not promising to me either. And the flow just becomes northwest again as we head into the end of the month. Yeah. So to recap the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, if nothing changes here, and this looks like scrambled eggs to me between the guidances here, and this is yesterday morning on Saturday. Last night still looks like scrambled eggs to me, and this looks scrambled to me too. Chaos. And of course, in the diagrams with that ridge over Alaska or south of Alaska and the Aleutian Islands, and a trough of low pressure underneath it, that is an omega block, and it's showing up in the guidance here where the Pacific North Pacific PNA forecast is in the negative, but going positive. Well, it's not going positive. It's going upward towards a change as we head into early January, and that's this morning's run. Last night's run even stronger here. Is so negative here in the European high resolution, and even the EPS is trending upward here. So far removed from the operational, and the day before, GFS is out to lunch. But you get the idea, folks, that change is on the way, but it is going to hold off until probably early January here. Because if we don't have a PNA here actually, it's not a lot of things that are going to happen. It's a very high volatility forecast moving forward.